If you told me you'd die for me, I'm not sure I'd believe you. I would appreciate this hypothetical, hyperbolic gesture, this heroic yet hollow declaration of your love for me. Hypothetically, I'd die for you too. The only issue is I've never done it before. Neither have you. And what good would that bring? How could my death bring you life? In the book of Romans, Paul writes that very rarely will anyone die for a righteous person. Am I a righteous person? Am I a perfectly deserving, morally upright person? Are you? Is anyone? Paul goes on to tell us that God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Since we have now been justified by his blood, how much more shall we be saved from God's wrath through him? For if, while we were God's enemies, we were reconciled to him through the death of his Son, how much more, having been reconciled, shall we be saved through his life? See, it isn't about you or I who would, but he who did. He who died for us, this man, this God, this Jesus, this heathen-hugging human, he who doesn't subscribe to you being too far gone or ruined, this man, this God, this Jesus, beaten and spat upon, mocked and disfigured, robbed of his humanity and dignity, yet willingly proceeding. This man, this God, this Jesus, with his flesh ripped and stripped, with nails driven through his hands and feet, publicly drained, withering away, suffocating, yet following the will of his Father to his final desperate gasp. This Jesus who poured his own blood out on a cross so that the wrath of God would be poured out for us. For poor us, a lost people, tired and angry and bitter, addicted and strung out and selfish and divided, unable to fix what has been abysmally broken. Us, the bringers of sin and death and destruction, redeemed by Christ, saved from wrath on the day of judgment. Because Jesus Christ never sinned, yet Jesus himself became sin on our behalf, in our place, as our substitute, dying the death we deserve to die, granting us the life that he deserves to live, to satisfy God's wrath, to bridge the gap, to right our wrongs, to write our names in the book of life, because Jesus' death brings us life. Jesus turns our idealistic, self-serving narrative of a supposed act of rescue into a pain-stricken, unfathomable reality. Jesus trades our empty, lifeless vows into his promises fulfilled. Jesus trades his perfect righteousness for our dreaded sin, our ugliest moments, our deepest and most profound rejections of his love. In taking our sin away, Jesus carries the entirety of our shame. Jesus forfeits his own identity to be beaten beyond recognition, to feel and endure every ounce of our consequences, to the point of utter humiliation, exhaustion, oblivion, and death. See, Jesus unceremoniously died, and he died for you, and he died for me. And he died for each and every one of us, hopeless sinners in need of rescue. This man, this God, this Jesus, the light of the world, taken into the darkness so that we could live in his light.